How's it going, my friend? It is Danny here from ProjectManaverse.com, real world technical project management for beginners. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why I sometimes hate being a project manager. Why do I hate being a project manager? I'll be honest, I don't really hate being a project manager. I was going to title the video Cons of Being a Project Manager, but that didn't really have any kind of clickbait effect to it. So I thought, well, let's talk about we all have those days and we think, oh, God, I hate this job. So let's talk about the drivers behind that emotion. So first of all, let me say that being a project manager is a really good job for various reasons. You develop a lot of key skills being a project manager that can be applied to your life as well as your workplace. You have to build up some good competencies. You have to be able to handle pressure. It pays very well. So a project manager is a really good job and it's interesting as well. But as I say, you sometimes have bad days, and the bigger the project, the harder the project, the more up the ladder you want to go in terms of money and progress and status and all that and promotions, the more you're going to be expected to put up with the bad aspects of being a project manager. So you have to be prepared for that. If you want to go for the bigger, more complex projects and get more money, you're going to have to deal with the cons of being a project manager, the downsides as well. But I will say, with experience, you build up resilience, so those downsides don't really bother you as much. When you first start out and you get your first big project, it can be quite tough and it can be stressful, and you can think, oh, why am I doing this? But through the years, once you've got 10 years of experience under your belt, you've seen it all, you've done it all, and there isn't really much that can really stress you out too much. You've built up that stress tolerance, and that's why you get paid more money, because you can handle the pressure and you can still function effectively and speak to people in the right way and get stuff done and be very productive, even when it seems like everything's not going wrong necessarily, but it's all very intense and there's a lot going on. So you build that resilience with time, and you can handle the cons of being a project manager better. Okay, so that's the background. So let's jump into the cons of being a project manager, or why I hate being a project manager on some days. So number one, as I say, it can be very stressful as a project manager for various reasons, because as a project manager, you're responsible for the success of the project. It's kind of the buck stops with you. So if it goes really well, you're the hero. If it doesn't go so well, you're the anti-hero, I suppose. And it doesn't even matter if it was your fault or not, or if, it's a bit unfair sometimes that people give the credit to the project manager, or a lot of the credit to the project manager, because obviously your team is very important. But at the same time, we have to deal with the flip side of that. So if it goes badly, they'll point to the project manager as well, rightly or wrongly. So I think it works out fairly. You can get to be the hero or the anti-hero, or not even the anti-hero, just the person that messed it up. But yeah, so because of that, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders, especially with bigger projects that are worth a lot of money. You're spending millions of pounds and a lot of stakeholders are involved, and there's often some kind of consequence if it doesn't get delivered on time, either through reputation or in breach of regulations or laws, or you just have to spend more money to keep it going. There's often some very negative consequences if you don't deliver on time. So that's a lot on your shoulders as a project manager. You're responsible. And the thing is, you can't just work around the clock and get it done yourself. You have to rely on other people. And that's, I think, what makes it stressful, because not everything is in your control. But as a project manager, you are there to control the project, to control the resources. So it's hard because you have to rely on people to deliver. You can't control people, you can't make them do things, and you can't just pick it up and do it yourself and work late. So because of that lack of control and certain resources, it makes it more stressful. So yeah, as I say, the bigger the project, the more high profile, the more expensive, the more stress that comes with it. But at the same time, with experience, you get to tolerate and become resilient to that stress as well, and you can just handle it better. So be prepared. If you want to get into project management, it's going to be stressful at first. So that's the first con. Number two con is that you have to nag people a little bit as a project manager. You have to be the person that has to chase people up and keep reminding them to do things, or be a bit firm sometimes, and just basically nag people a little bit. And it is a essential part of the project manager role. Someone has to do it, because if you don't have anyone nagging you or nagging the team, things just don't get done, because everyone always has too much to do, and they will focus on the highest priority, or they'll focus on things that are being shouted about the most. So you've got to be there to constantly push and remind people, and chase them up and all that kind of stuff. And it's not a glamorous part of the role. It's not fun. It's not fun to nag people. But as I say, it's got to be done. And again, I've noticed this is more when you're in the early project management years, when you're new to project management, it's more like nagging in those days. But as you get more experienced, you get better at setting up the project and leading in a way where you don't actually have to, you find yourself nagging people less because it just seems to get done. And that's because of the way you lead, the way you set things up. You kind of set up systems and the team operates in a nice synergistic way. And that comes with experience. And you just find years down the line when you're managing projects, you're not worried about chasing people up as much. It just tends to get done and the team is behind you a bit more. So all comes down to experience. These things get easier. Okay, the next thing is you have to deal with difficult stakeholders. There's always some difficult stakeholders on a project, but not many, maybe like one or two on each project. There'll be some characters that you have to deal with. And again, they never go away. You can't do anything to get rid of difficult stakeholders, but you get better at dealing with them. And that could be it can be wide ranging in terms of why they're difficult. It could be they're very seen and very demanding. They're making unreasonable demands of you all the time. They're asking you to do things that are distracting you from delivering your project. That is a very common one. Senior leaders love to have status updates. They love to see packs or PowerPoint presentations about how the project is doing. And it's always the argument, look, can I just spend this time actually delivering the project and getting the work done rather than doing updates for you? And you can get in situations where there's various different updates for different stakeholders. They're all important. They want their own version of the update. So you're spending time doing this pack and that pack and this pack, and it's very annoying and time wasting. So you can get these demanding stakeholders. Sometimes you can get people on your team that are very difficult to work with. Sometimes they just won't pull their weight and they're a bit slippery and they just they just don't do their job. That can be difficult. There can be aggressive people or passive aggressive people that you have to deal with. There's wide ranging. There's like people that just aren't very good, or they can be good but they're just very forgetful and you have to keep reminding them about what was said and revisiting old ground. So there's a wide ranging array of difficult stakeholders that come in various shapes and forms. But yeah, you just have to be prepared for that as a project manager. There's no escaping it, because if they're a stakeholder on the project, you've got to manage them. You can't just ignore them because they have power on your project one way or another. They're either delivering something on your project, so you need them, or they can be a blocker on your project, so you need to get them on side, or they are a decision maker on your project, so you have to address the situation if they're difficult. So, but as I say, with experience, in my experience, you don't get many, maybe like a 1, 2, maybe 3 on each project, so you can deal with that. Okay, the next one is the amount of red tape. So red tape is basically bureaucracy, governance that slows your project down. And at first I hated this. And again, it's when you're new to project management, it can feel like these things are blockers. You have to fill out forms, or you have to have certain meetings, or it seems like you're jumping through hoops to get things done, to get things delivered, to get things built on your project, or to get sign-offs. And it can feel like there's a lot of red tape and you're being slowed down. So it's frustrating. You have to put up with that frustration sometimes, because you think, right, we've got these milestones to hit in 2 weeks and 4 weeks. We could do it. We could start now. But because of this bureaucracy and this red tape, we're being blocked and it's putting the project at risk. It's frustrating. But with experience and time, again, you anticipate better, you plan better, and you can negotiate better. Your stakeholder management is better, so you can be more reasonable with them, and you learn to navigate the governance better. And you start to learn that it's actually a good thing. It does protect the project. It does protect you as a project manager. It's a very good control, and ultimately, it's a good thing. Although it can be painful, it does protect the project. And the bigger the organization, the bigger the company, the longer it's been around, probably the more governance you have to go to. Probably startups have very little governance, and they probably have too little governance. You can just do anything willy-nilly. But the bigger companies have been around for a long time, especially if they're financial services where there can be a real customer impact, or health. There's going to be a lot of regulations involved, so you have to go through those regulations to get things done. The last con I'm going to talk about is you have to learn how to stay positive as a project manager. even when you have bad days, and you will have bad days, because you are the leader of the project or the face of the project. You've got to be, your team need to, you're the talisman of the team. It's really important. Don't underestimate how much of a leadership aspect plays into being a project manager, especially if you want to be a great project manager and you want your team to deliver for you and go the extra mile and get that great team spirit going. The project manager leadership role is very important, and you can't do that by having bad days all the time and just being unmotivated and irritated and just down in the dumps, because you could have a very stressful time on your project, or there could be something going on in your personal life, and you get up in the morning and you look at your calendar and you've got back-to-back meetings all day, and they're your meetings that you have to run and chair, and you've got to be positive and fight through issues, and sometimes you just think, oh god, I just can't, I'm just not in the mood for this today. But you've got to find a way to put on a brave face and just be positive for your team and smash through it. So again, all comes with experience. You'll learn how to do that as you build up resilience, and you just perform regardless because you have to if you want to be a great project manager. But yeah, that's not a particularly fun thing to do, but you have to. And the really hard thing is the having to lead all the meetings as the leader of the project when you're having that bad day, when you have all of them. I mean, you can always cancel the meetings, but that doesn't usually go down well because projects are very fast paced. Things need to happen and get done every day to keep it moving forward. As I say, you're laying down the track for the train of the project. Keep putting down that track so it can keep moving forward. If you start cancelling meetings, you can derail the train. So you've got to find a way. Okay, so I hope that hasn't put you off. But I will say they're good things, they're good cons, because once you get used to them, you build up the tolerance, you build up the stress, you can take on those bigger projects, and you're just a more competent, capable person in general if you can deal with that kind of stress, and you'll be rewarded for it. So it's definitely worth going through it, because you'll grow as a person, and your career will grow as well, and the money you earn will grow too. Okay, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the thumbs up if you did, and until tomorrow, please take care.